David Klecker here, creator of AutoHARP3. Let's take a look at some of the miscellaneous things that you will find in the application. So for example, I have Akira loaded here. I have upped him up to level 5. What if I want to load in other character sheets that I have created? Instead of having to like reopen every character in AutoHARP, like I close AutoHARP then I reopen a new one, can I open up multiple character sheets? Of course we can. By going into File, Open, selecting the character sheet that you want to open, and then double clicking that, and it will open in our application. Let me go ahead and open up one more. Let me open up this last one up here. And now I have 3 character sheets loaded into my application. And I can see all 3 by going to Tools and then Dashboard. And all 3 of my character sheets will be shown here. And I can switch between any 3 of these character sheets. So if I want to go to Magor, I can open up his character sheet. And then I can always go back to the dashboard. If I want to go back to Akira, open his character sheet. Spending a little bit of time here, we see that we have 3 character sheets open. Character sheets will be appearing on the top row. And when we get to monsters, monsters will be appearing on below them. So again, also when I put my mouse over one of these character sheets, it will flip over and it will give me an ability to open the character. It also gives me some basic, it's almost like taking the entire main page and shrinking it down to this very bare minimum level of information so that you can just kind of quickly get it if that's what you would like to do. Like as a GM, if I have all 3 of these character sheets open and I just want to quickly look up a skill bonus, like perception. Okay, he's got a 53 in perception. So you can go ahead and just roll that. That can be something that GM can use for some of their NPC characters. A couple of other things worth noting is that under File, there is this idea of a campaign file. Well, what is that? Well, if I were to, say, open up all 3 of these character sheets and then go ahead and do a Save Campaign, it's going to ask me to save this as a file, and I'm going to just do this as a campaign demo file. What this has done is it has saved all 3 character sheets into a file called a campaign file. And all it really is just pointers to where these files are located so that when the program grabs these pointers, these file paths, it will take that file path and open up that character sheet. So these are really connected to file sheets or character sheets that have a specific location. And if you move those character sheets from that specific location, these campaign files won't work anymore. So now what can I do with a campaign file? Well, let's go ahead and start closing character sheets so I can get back to the main splash page. I'm doing a Control W to close all of these character sheets, or you can do a File, Close Character as well, and that'll close character sheets. I'm back to my main splash page here, and now I can go ahead and open Campaign, and I can select the campaign demo, and that will open up all 3 of my character sheets, provided that they are all in the exact same place as they were before. And if you have moved them, then you're going to have to recreate these campaign files. The campaign files are nothing more than, it's all in a name. They're files that are meant for a specific campaign or even a specific day of a campaign. So you can always organize your character sheets into, there's this campaign that I'm going to run. So now I'm going to open up this campaign file, and here are all of the characters and monsters for this particular campaign. Another thing that we can do under File here is Print Character. So if I were to go ahead and select this, it will create a PDF file and open this up in a PDF format. And I can go ahead and I can save this as a PDF file, or I can go ahead and I can print this as a PDF file. It contains all of the information in the printed format that is found in the book, contains all of the skills and their total bonuses, and if you have spells, it even contains those as well as the scaling options. Okay, so let's go into Tools, and we've already discussed the dashboard. I've already discussed New Level. I'm going to discuss Open Combat later. I've already discussed Open Fumble. Let's check out Random Encounter. So Random Encounter is a very simple, very straightforward program. You select a location, you select a population, and you select a disposition. And from there you can either do a Get Encounter and it will randomly roll for you, or you can put in a 1d100 roll and a modifier that you would like to apply and have it roll. And these are the conditions if you want to figure out what your modifier would be based on these conditions. Biggest problem with modifiers is that everything is based on a kind of a positive value basis. So the higher the value, the more interesting your encounter is going to be. The lower the value, the less interesting your encounter is going to be. So just kind of keep that in mind when it comes to modifiers. And if you were like saying, well, minus 50, that means there's probably nothing's going to show up. Or plus 100, that means that something very interesting is about to show up. So that's how this random encounter works. I see this working in your campaign as a very quick way of just coming up with some idea of just randomly what a person might run into if the GM doesn't have anything written down. But another way that I would consider using a random encounter is I might consider, maybe using a ChatGPT version of this. If you have the pro version of ChatGPT and you can go ahead and put in information about conditions, about encounters, about maybe a table of encounters that you would like to, that could be a part of your campaign, you might consider using ChatGPT, because what that can give you is a little bit more information about who the encounter is, and from there you might even be able to create some character sheets from it. Maybe in the future what I can do if I'm able to incorporate AI into this program is not only will I can create a random encounter, but I can also have a button here that says create character sheets based on that random encounter. So let's go back to main menu. Let's check out the next one, which is, let's skip random monster for now. I want to spend some extra time on that. Let's go to random treasure. Now with random treasure, I didn't talk about the monsters yet, but I'll get to them. But these are all of the monsters that are loaded into our file right now, into our application right now. And so you can pick any one of these monsters to load into your application. Let's just say, for example, that you encountered a goblin and you've defeated that goblin, and now you want to generate a treasure pool as a GM. So I just go ahead and click on this button, and of course, no treasure has been generated for either category, which is that's a rare thing to happen. What's going on here with each category is that a percent chance of a treasure is actually being rolled, and in each case that percent chance failed. Now you can override this. It doesn't matter if they all failed. You can basically say, look, I want to generate a magic item, I want to generate some money, and I want to generate a mundane item. Those are simply things that I want to have happen. So you can override the fact that no treasure has actually been generated for this creature, just going ahead and clicking on the item. You can even override the wealth for how you would like to roll for the magic item. So the category for wealth, you can select normal or rich. You can set the number of times that you're going to roll for a magic item. Same thing with money items. You can do the exact same thing, change the wealth and the number of rolls. And same thing with the mundane items. You can change the wealth and the number of rolls. There's not much else to this application here except for the fact that you do have the information for the item itself, but the item itself is not created for you in your application. You need to, remember, write it down, or come up with this idea of what this item is going to be. Looks like it's a bonus 3 shield, so that would be a plus 15 shield. Whatever, you can tell the player you have a plus 15 normal shield. And that could be a way of telling and getting them to add that item to their inventory. Same thing with normal equipment. You can say you've got 10 pythons now, you've got a map, we don't know what that map is, and maybe you found a case, and you can put that into their inventory. You can also give them the description, but as of right now, there is nothing that takes this item and puts it into a character sheet. Mostly due to the fact that this is a GM kind of a run application here. So which character sheet am I putting it in? Am I putting it in Akira or the other 2 character sheets? Maybe in the future what I can have is I can have a pointer to a character sheet that says you're going to take this item and you're going to put it into that character, and these coins are going to go into that character, and these mundane items are going to go into that character, each one. Maybe in the future I'll have something updated for random treasure that'll do something similar to that. Let's go back to main screen and talk about monsters. Monsters is one of the biggest additions to AutoHARP3. With random monster, I can go ahead and just select any random monster, but that's not necessarily the new thing. This was done in AutoHARP2 as well. If I select a location, for example, I can get monsters based on that location. I can get monsters based on level 2, and this is level 2 and mountains location. But again, that's not exactly new. This is all the same. The thing that happened with the older application What is new is what I'm about to show you. So let me just go ahead and I'm going to select a specific one. Let me just go ahead and select Ogre. Now it'll give me all of the information about Ogre, its attacks, and its talents. And I can also go ahead and view its details. Now the details are going to show up down here. It's going to be relatively the same, except I now get description, lifestyle, backgrounds, and I also have the ability to just check out what these talents actually do. I get more information about my attacks, although I think it's the exact same information that is up there. And I also get the same property information that's here. And if I decide that I want this, I like this character sheet, I want to use it, well then I can just go ahead and export this monster, and this is where the new part of the application begins to come out. So I have saved this, and now I have the main monster screen. So instead of the main character screen having to be for characters, I have a specific main monster screen that can be used for taking a template for a monster and then adding some information to that. You can't just create a new monster. You take a template and then you go ahead and you build on that template for a monster. So you can change the picture, you can change its armor, resistance. Of course, the resistance is linked to the skill. Any critical information, skills, talents, actions, stats, spells, items, and so on. We can make changes to any of those. Let me go ahead and just start from the top and I'll work my way down. So we have the name of the monster, we have some preliminary properties of the monster written here. If I were to click on edit information, I can change the name of this monster, its size, its description, outlook, IQ, initiative. Can't change the hits because that's linked to the endurance skill, nor can I change the power points because that's linked to the power points development skill. Now increment level is interesting, and I'm going to come back to that at the very end here to show you how increment level works. It works exactly the way you think it does, but I just want to give you a basic idea of what it's doing by going through that first. So with armor, we can go ahead and edit the values of armor. I can edit any talent DB, its magic or special DB for my armor. Can't edit the resistance rolls because again, those are linked to skills, so you would have to update the skills to update these bonuses. If I have a casting penalty or a focus item, I can put that here. If there's BMR information, that will be listed here, and I can have multiple BMR information, for example, creatures that walk on all fours, but can also walk on two. There are other properties where the monster may not be able to bleed or stun or even get penalty. These could be more related to creatures that are more like undead or demons. Other things that I can do, I can add talents. I can even go ahead and edit a talent. If I want to edit any of this description for dense muscular, I can do that. If I want to delete the talent, I can go ahead and do that as well. If I want to add a talent, I can just pick any talent and I can just go ahead and add that, and that'll get added to the creature. Let's talk about adding skills. So you can add any skill to your monster, any skill that you can think of, any skill that comes from Harp Fantasy, any other skill. It's not categorized through a category. You don't have to search through categories to find a skill. You don't have to search through skills to find a sub-skill. Just put a skill name, put a skill in there that makes sense, that belongs to that monster. Go ahead and add a certain number of ranks that you feel that that monster would have had in that skill. Any other bonus, any stats that belong to that, and a resolution type for that. And also give a description for that. There is no looking this up in the database. You're the one that's going to be typing all of this in manually. What is new though is that there is a skill ID here. Let me show you how that skill ID works. So I have an attack listed over here, a claymore, and I have a long blades claymore skill, and if I add a rank, you'll notice that that is updated here on attacks. That's because there is a link between this skill and this attack, and that link is actually between this skill ID that's listed right here. So if I were to take the skill ID and just kind of memorize it, go to edit, go to the skills over here, and edit this skill, you'll notice that that same skill ID is listed here. That links this skill with this particular attack, so I can now increase its rank. I can do this with, if I wanted to add in a new attack. Let's say that I'm going to add in an attack, and it's going to be a missile longbow attack. So I'm going to go ahead and add that weapon, and then I'm going to go ahead and add that skill. So longbow. I'm going to select, let's see, that's going to be agility, and we'll just say strength. That's going to be combat, and then I'm going to go ahead and add skill. Now, if I were to rank this up, you'll notice that longbow is not being changed. But if I were to make sure that the skill ID is the same in both, then it would work. So let's go into longbow here. If there is a skill ID that is now listed for me, that gets automatically generated. I'm going to come over here to edit skill, and I'm going to paste that same skill ID in there. I'm going to edit skill, and now when I rank this up, it will in fact give me the proper OB. Okay, I can do the same thing with spells. So for example, if I went and added a spell, I selected the sphere and the spell, and I went ahead and added that. That spell gets added down here for my monster, and a skill gets added as if it was a spell casting skill to my monster as well. And I just need to make sure, I don't think that these are linked, but it looks like they are, so the link is automatic when it comes to adding in spells. And we know this link works by just going into edit spell. Well, we don't see the skill ID, but I guess it worked anyway. And I think a way to make this, you make sure that it does work, is just put in Harper column spell, just on the safe side of things, so that this will always work. But it seemed to work without the skill ID, so I must have programmed it in a way where I'm not really caring too much about the skill ID. I'm caring more about the skill name. If that's the case, then I would highly recommend to not change the skill name if you're adding in a new spell. Just leave that the way it is. Same thing with items. If I go ahead and add an attack, I am going to be adding that item to my character sheet. So as you can see, it added the longbow automatically to my character sheet. I can add any other items that I want. You can see that I have a bola available, but maybe I don't want that bola. Maybe I want to delete that bola. But I can go ahead and add any item that I want. It's the same as a character sheet. If I want to add a household item like a chain, I can go ahead and add that to my character sheet. I can even say that that chain is equipped. Beyond that, I can do the same roles that I did in the character sheet. So I can always just open this thing up, and I can go ahead and do some rolling for my character sheet. The other thing too that you might not know is that I can in fact switch between characters, and this roll button or this roll window actually stays put. So if I go to dashboard and I go to Akira, you'll notice that the roll is still there. It will actually stay put based on what character sheet you have open. So that'll always stay open no matter what. It's based on the application, not on the character sheet. Also, you'll notice with the dashboard that I now have my monster located, and you'll notice that it's not located here, it's located underneath. All of my characters are up here until they wrap around, and then all of my monsters are going to be located just underneath them. Alright, so that is basically the end of kind of the miscellaneous stuff. I need to start talking to you about combat eventually, but until then, thank you so much for purchasing AutoHARP3, and happy gaming.